bringing it to them all day. You know what's up? Welcome to Birdland. Win or lose, we bringing it to you always. You know what's up? Welcome to Birdland. Orange or black, we rebuild the pack. No matter where we at, you know we coming back. Section 336, we on this, so tune in. You know what's up? Welcome to Birdland. Yeah, welcome to Birdland. You know what's up? Welcome to Birdland. Now, here come the boys from Section 336.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Baltimore sports fans of all ages, welcome once again to Section 336, Next Generation Baltimore Sports Talk. I am your endearing listening host, Matt Soroka. As always, I'm joined by the button lover, Josh Soroka, who hasn't changed his underwear since the Orioles last lost. Hey, Josh.
Hey, I mean, yeah, it's an 8-game winning streak. We're the hottest team in baseball. I mean, you can't do anything.
Yeah, they may never lose again at this rate.
It was a long All-Star break. But yeah, gotta get through it. It's kind of cool because it does make it harder. I mean, we're talking, it's been with the All-Star break, it's been 13 days since the Orioles lost a game.
Yeah.
Like we're going on 2 weeks.
Yeah, and the Miami, I didn't realize Miami Marlins having a really good year. At least they were before they came to us.
No, they've been having a great year, which surprised me too until people started saying, "Oh, they're doing well," and I looked it up last week during the break. I was looking it up, and I was like, "Oh,
yeah,
they're rebuilding. Their rebuild is working better than I expected as well."
Yeah, they're having a nice year in a tough division like us, and but we just took it to them. I mean, we took it to them for 3 games. That was 3, and I know. Listen, if you want to talk about run differential, like maybe it wasn't there. I think we won 3 games by a total of 5 runs. But it felt like, maybe yesterday's game felt a little bit like, we snuck one out because it seemed like they always had runners on base, and we maybe should have lost that one. But
today's was a little tough there at the end.
Yeah, and today got silly at the end.
It was domination until the end.
Yeah.
So
and that you're kind of happy sometimes when some of this stuff happens. I'm not happy that we made it close, but part of me is happy because it's more evidence that when Bautista and Cano, we're jumping right into this, but when Bautista and Cano are unavailable to pitch, there's a little weak spot there. So,
and it's all, but we also know if it was playoff games, they'd be available.
Right. But we still got to get through the rest of the season.
Yeah, I know we do. But once you took the series, I think you felt pretty good about, all right, let's rest on a Sunday, and we put out the B squad, and we still got through it.
Yeah, thanks to Kyle Bradish, and now they're available to pitch tomorrow. Grayson will be there. Yeah. LA Dodgers. I'm going to the game tomorrow. I was just reminiscing with Dad about talking about the Orioles' first World Series win against the Dodgers. I know what expect us to win, and we got the first World Series, and Dad was a kid, so some throwback stories there. So I know Dad's pumped about playing the Dodgers at Camden Yards, and I'm pumped because just the situation, the 2 hottest teams in baseball, Grayson pitching, the division. It doesn't get better than this for July baseball.
I looked up some last-second flights to see if I can come join you and Dad. I looked. Unfortunately, flights need to come down in price. They're way too expensive. They need to make it so that I can easily make a day trip up and back for these games. Yeah,
well, they better come down by October.
I know.
Summer is the most expensive time to fly, though, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. But yeah, I think we're gonna need a few flights in October.
Every week, the percentage chance that we're gonna need some October flights increases.
I believe the thing I sent you this week said 75% chance the Orioles make the playoffs.
Yeah, I bet it's higher than that now because that was a couple days ago, and every time you win, it goes a little higher.
Yeah.
Now it's at 83%. By the way.
That's 83%. That's good.
Wait, you know what's so disrespectful?
Tell me where are the Yankees?
Well, they're at 44.
Okay, all right, good.
Which makes me happy. I was driving back. I've been doing a lot of driving, and I have some issues now with driving. I've been spending the last 3 weeks on the road a lot. I've been listening to a lot of radio. Me and Scott Garceau have been hanging out a lot on the radio. Since I'm in Georgia, I never listen to games anymore just because you watch them all. But when you're in Maryland, you're driving around, you just turn the game on. But I don't do that in Georgia.
Okay.
But anyway, on this driving, I've been listening to a lot of Sky Garcelle, but today I was driving home. I went to the Fredericksburg Nationals game when they were playing the Lynchburg Hellcats. They won on a walk-off Space Jam day. It was fantastic. Their stadium was built just 3 years ago. A fantastic stadium right there in Fredericksburg.
What did they do for Space Jam Day?
Well, it's Space Jam weekend, actually. So yesterday they wore all their Space Jam uniforms.
Okay.
Special Space Jam uniforms.
That could be cool.
Yeah, and today they gave out a Space Jam's T-shirt, and also like on the scoreboard.
Well, that's not a T-shirt. That's a basketball jersey.
Yeah, basketball jersey. I mean, yeah,
that's pretty cool. The Rays last year, I believe, did the basketball jerseys, like a Tampa Bay Rays version basketball jersey, and to me, that's like a little tank top like that is way cooler than these soccer jerseys.
Yeah, a lot of people into soccer, Josh. Though a lot of people like soccer.
No,
I know it's not our thing.
something different.
And they also had like on the scoreboard when the players were up, instead of pictures of the players, it was like the monsters and a picture of a monster with the stats. And when the Nationals were up, a picture of
The
a
Looney
Looney
Tunes.
Tune, yeah, with the stats. And Silas was so confused because he's never seen or heard of Space Jam. So he's like, why is there a pig up there for that batter?
Why didn't you prepare him for this by like showing him Space Jam or something?
I know. I
He's
realized
definitely old enough for Space Jam.
I thought for some reason like he'd already seen it. But then when we got there, I realized no, he has no idea what's going on. So that's a cultural moment that I've missed as a father to fill him in on. So now, Josh, just your quick recommendation.
Yeah.
Do I watch the LeBron James one with him or do I watch the Michael Jordan one with him?
The Michael Jordan one is way better.
Did you watch LeBron James one?
The LeBron James one is good for a certain age group because it's got more cultural references that they can relate to.
Yeah.
So it was, the LeBron James one, it's okay. The original one's the best.
Yeah.
I don't mind the LeBron one.
Can I also, while we're at it, can I make a couple notes about driving? And then we'll get back to the Orioles talk.
All right. Space Jam drive-in. Eventually we'll get to Orioles.
Yeah. It's not like we got anything to talk about the Orioles anyway.
No, but you said something surprised you about this postseason playoff odds, but we'll get to that after your driving talk.
Oh, yeah. I'll come back to that. I forgot I even talking about that. I'll come back to the postseason playoff odds, which is I find shocking and appalling, and I think actually offensive and disrespectful. But I'll get back to that. Can I just say a couple things? First of all, when I'm pulling off to go to gas stations and pulling off to go to fast food places.
Okay. Yeah.
You know how they have these blue signs with the
Yes.
restaurant on them?
Yes.
I don't know. Everybody probably is aware of this. I've just been outraged by this anew. We went to one the other day, Josh, and once you pulled off, it was 4.5 miles to the fast food place.
That's
where there was a sign right there. There should be a limit of like 2 miles. That thing has to be. If they're going to be a sign on the highway, you can't be 4.5 miles away.
I was wondering about this because that's complete crap. It should be under 1 mile. Would be my rule.
Oh yeah,
my rule would be under 1 mile. I think
Even
it really should
be. This took
like,
me 15 minutes off the way.
It really should be. When I see that blue sign and pull off, I expect to be able to see the restaurant while on the ramp.
Yeah.
Do you think? And I know a quick Google search would get me this answer probably, but those blue signs. Do you think the restaurants pay for those?
Like, they must because.
And is that how you get on?
Yeah, they must because not every restaurant's included.
Right. So it's like, do you have to pay to get featured on that?
Because I pulled over for a Cracker Barrel, and 4.5 miles to the Cracker Barrel, and I went past like 4 other restaurants to get to the Cracker Barrel that weren't on the sign.
All right. Yep. You have to pay for the sign.
Yeah. Well, they got me.
This is an article from 2020, and it says that Virginia makes $6 million off of those blue signs from restaurants. And then
don't tell John Angelos, he's going to get into
it says Tennessee makes about $8 million.
Yeah, all right.
And he uses those two as examples, I guess, because they're big drive-through states.
Yeah.
But we got to make some blue signs.
Yeah, we should get into the business of blue signs with logos on it.
It's just like the sponsor highway signs. I always wonder who makes that money, because this road is sponsored by Lido Pizza, but I don't see people in Lido uniforms picking up trash on that highway.
Is there responsibility that comes with being a sponsor? Like, are you responsible for the maintenance of that part of the highway in terms of trash pickup?
I thought that's what it's about.
Yeah, if I see trash and I see sponsored by, I think badly about that company. Like they can't take care of their own portion of the road there.
It's the adopt the highway signs.
Yeah.
So
But I started that because all that, the origins of this story, because you mentioned the Yankees, and I listened as they blew a 5-3 lead in the ninth and then ended up losing. I think it was in the 12th inning, 8-7, and with a walk-off home run against the Rockies, which, made me so happy to just listen to that on the radio. So I really enjoyed that. But no, the thing about the standings that I found shocking and appalling and offensive,
okay,
as far as the percentage, Josh, we are 83.3% chance, according to Fangraphs, of making the playoffs. Okay.
all right, yeah, that sounds good. I like those odds. I'll take 80. I mean, yeah, I'll take those odds. They haven't been those odds in forever.
Yeah, but here this odd. We stand a game outside of first place.
Okay,
We also have, I'll just point this out
second
too.
best record.
We
in
have
the American League.
one less loss than the Rays as well.
Right.
So we've actually lost less games than they have.
Yes.
What would you say our percentage chances to win the American League East?
I'd say, see, here's where the odd makers are going to screw with you, because I don't know how they figured these odd makers out as far as strength of schedule, but strength of schedule will say that our schedule is harder than the Rays schedule, because the Rays schedule is easier because they have to play the Orioles, which is crazy. So they will say strength of schedule. They will give the Rays a better odds.
Sure. Sure. The Rays are better.
So I would say
and they're in first place right now.
Right. So so you're saying 88% to win, to get into
83% to win to make the playoffs. What percentage chance do the Fangraphs gives us to win the division?
I would go with 60%.
Okay. Do you think this is offensive? I'm going to tell you the number, and I think this is offensive. You tell me if you're offended, and I think you will be offended based on that number. The number is 17.7. Tampa Bay, 67% chance to win the division. Blue Jays, 11.9. Us, 17.7.
What site are you looking at?
It's called Fangraphs.com.
All right.
Have you heard of it?
All right. No, but here we go. I'm on Baseball Reference.
Okay, that's another site.
All right. Baseball Reference gives us 88.3 chance to make the postseason.
A little higher than Fangraphs.
It gives the Tampa Bay Rays a 99.7 chance of making the postseason.
Okay, it's 98 on Fangraphs.
All right. Here, you want to be offended. What do you think they have as the Orioles percentage of winning the division?
Well, this is 17.7 there. I assume that it can't be lower than 17.7, so I'll say it's 25.
14.8.
Yeah, isn't that offensive?
Yeah, that's completely offensive. It's completely offensive.
We're a game behind first place.
All right, but going further, look at chances to win the World Series. We'll go all the way to the end. The Rays, 16.6. The Rangers, 13.5, leading their division.
Right.
What do you think the third team in for chance to win the World Series?
In the American League?
In the American League. At 6.5.
So, probably the Astros?
The Astros come in at 3.1.
Okay. Did you mention Tampa Bay and Texas?
Yep.
And then Astros.
The Twins are leading their division. They're at 3.1.
Yeah. What is it? Toronto?
Toronto has 6.5, even though they're behind the Orioles, who have their 3.2 chance to win the World Series.
Yeah, they're 5 games behind the Orioles.
Yeah. So you gotta get in the playoffs first if you want to win that World Series.
Yeah. I mean, it's also gonna be interesting now. What do these odds look like a month from now when all the teams have had their go at the trade deadline, upgrading their rosters? How does that shake things out? Because it's close, and maybe I guess I would assume they don't build into this model teams upgrading.
No, they don't. And I don't even know. That's what I wonder about how strength of schedule is. Strength of schedule based on season projections?
No, it has to be adjusted
as
each
the season
game.
goes on.
I think it must be adjusted each game. You have
So
to. Yeah.
You think at some point they adjust that? Okay, the Orioles are better than we projected.
Yeah, I think they adjust that daily. But
I guess with odds makers you have to. But I mean, it's still great odds to gamble on the Baltimore Orioles.
Yeah, I mean, I saw someone predicted the odds had us of winning like 500, half our games for the second half of the year, even after we well outperformed that in the first half. So yeah, I think the 17% and the 14% to win the division now feels insane. But then if we go on a 3-game losing streak,
Right.
it's I feel like we are victims of the moment here, and now the moment where I just can't imagine I was ever losing the rest of the season. So certainly we have a better than 70% chance of winning the division.
I think the more interesting stats when we're looking at these postseason stats is chance of making the postseason. To look at teams like the Oakland A's, less than 0.1. The Royals, less than 0.1. The White Sox, 1%. The Tigers, 3%. The Angels, 3.1%. The Mariners, 7.4%. The Guardians, 15%. I think those guys that are under 20%, those are the ones that you really look at and be like, all right, who on those teams do we want? Because those teams will sell. Those are your American League teams that have given up and they're out of it.
Yeah, I think the GMs look at that too, right? And say,
no, totally. I think you could throw the Red Sox in there at 21%.
Yeah, and Mike Elias mentioned this before. He has his own formula to look at wins, and so I think all these teams have an idea of how they project throughout. And so, yeah, I think the next 2 weeks are important, but I think we're already getting, as you point out with those numbers, a pretty clear idea of who's going to be selling and who's going to be buying here.
Right. We talk about all the time about how now with the playoffs, there's more teams in it than ever. And there are. But there's teams, like all those teams I mentioned, each of those teams has at least one good player that they're going to want to trade because they're out of it. Well, I don't know about Oakland.
And I don't know about the Royals. Those are 2 teams I don't know if they have. I mean, maybe Chapman's already traded. I don't know.
All right. Well,
there might be a bullpen arm hiding there.
The Angels, the Mariners, the White Sox, the Tigers, the Guardians, Red Sox, they all have at least 1 or 2 good guys to trade.
Sure.
And they're also got
and you're not even including the National League.
No, if I look at the National League,
I think there'll be plenty of sellers here at the deadline. Yeah.
Yeah, National League, you bring in the Nationals, the Mets, Cardinals, Pirates, Rockies, Padres, all under 20%.
Yeah.
At some point, baseball has to have a discussion about the Padres and how much of a complete failure the Padres have been. For bringing it, the Padres were supposed to win the World Series year after year after year.
Yeah, baseball is. It's funny because everyone in baseball is saying we need to have a conversation about the Orioles.
I know,
not spending money, but Josh is like, we need to talk about the Padres spending too much money.
Exactly, the Padres spend all this money, the Mets spend all this money, and they play like crap. Like, can we? But
Buster loves that.
Get off, Buster.
Buster loves that.
Buster.
He loves teams that spend money. It doesn't matter if they win or lose. He just loves them to spend money.
Now, Buster, I know you loved Adley and you really focused on Adley and stuff for the All-Star break. You gave the Orioles some love during the All-Star break by focusing on some of their players, not focusing on the team.
He loves the players.
Right. He loves the players. And but come on. We got teams spending all this money and they can't even make the playoffs. That's a joke.
Yeah, and that's a problem. You can talk about how the 2 best players in the world have been playing on the same team for the past 5 years, and don't make the playoffs. So with Ohtani and Trout, like
Ohtani hasn't been on the Angels for 5 years.
What, 4 years? Yeah, 4 years, 4 or 5 years. So it's. I mean, I think that's a bigger problem than the Orioles, the tanking, and people always.
You're right. It's been 5 years. 5 years of the best players in baseball, and the team's horrible.
Despite trying and spending money every year to bring in Rendon and other pieces and trading for Bundy, we saw today how well that Bundy trade's working out for them. So. And it looks like this year too, it's going to be another miss and a miss on Ohtani. But Josh, it's really interesting how the Orioles have gotten here, and you can criticize them for a variety of things, but it's still remarkable how quickly Mike Elias has turned this thing around to the point now where an 80+% chance to make the playoffs. And Mike Elias talked a little bit on both the radio and TV broadcast a couple of days ago. And something he says always annoys me, but I'll try to let it go. But clearly the plan has, up until this point, I think worked better than anyone could have imagined.
Yeah. Were we wrong last year and all off season? It's been a year. Well, it's been almost a year. August 3rd is when Mike Elias made the phrase that we all laughed at him for the past year, where he said, I think it's liftoff from here for this team.
Hashtag liftoff.
Yeah. And we made fun of him about how you're not signing anyone in this offseason.
Well, not only that, but
you didn't make any of these moves.
Yeah, and then you trade Trey Mancini and Jorge Lopez.
You trade Mancini away.
Yeah.
But since August 3rd of last year, it's been liftoff.
Yeah.
It started actually before then. Since Adley Rutschman came on this team.
Yeah, it's been one of the best teams in baseball. Yeah.
Like, we made fun of him all through the offseason for saying liftoff, to the point that even in December, the stories were, oh, Mike Elias is trying to backtrack on the liftoff phrase, where it was liftoff. It just wasn't a rocket ship. It was more of an airplane liftoff.
Well, I think when the general manager, the president of baseball operations, and the guy in charge of the roster and personnel moves says liftoff, that implies like spending money and making moves to improve the roster. He's done it through promotions more than trades and free agent signings.
Yes, but it's been liftoff.
How we've gotten here.
We've gotten to we're on our way to the top.
But don't you think it's almost even despite him? Now, he drafted and he set up the structure for these players to be successful. But as far as improving the roster now, I mean, the roster is improved because of these young players, not because of anything he has actively done in the past couple of years.
Except he drafted all these young players.
He did draft them, yes.
So you got to give him that. And he gave them all the tools in the minors to develop to this point.
Yeah, Josh.
I think more of in spite of him would be the 2012 Orioles, where they just out of nowhere got good, and we praised Duquette. But I think I'm more thinking as fans, as podcasters, we expected liftoff. We always treated liftoff as it's rocket 0 to 100, instead of a plane that, when you take a plane ride, that plane ride, it seems like it takes forever to get to full ascent.
Yeah.
And I think it's more of that we've had. And yeah, we didn't sign the big names. But now I'm looking at this stupid team, and I don't know where to put a big name. I like this team, and I'm like, all right, so if we make moves and we bring in a big starting pitcher, sure, I guess if we did it during the offseason, then we wouldn't have Irvin or Gibson. We could have a big name instead, and that would be impressive. But now I'm like, he did it. He did get liftoff. Now, I don't want this plane to crash and burn. So if we got here in spite of Mike Elias, this plane could go down. But if he prepared all these guys for the ascent, and here we are, then I think someone on Facebook just brought up Ryan Mountcastle. Like, Ryan Mountcastle's been bad this year. That wasn't the plan. So you got to imagine that not everything's gone perfect for the Orioles.
Right. But before you jump somewhere else, Josh, as you're wont to do, the idea of this, you hope it doesn't crash, I think that's part of Mike Elias's plan. Is, I don't want to call this team the Titanic. That would be a bad omen. But this team is set up to be really good for a long time.
Right. This plane is supposed
not
to stay
set
in the
up
air.
it's not set up. I mean, the Yankees could crash and burn because they have aging players on high contracts.
Yep.
We are set up to be really good. And even if a prospect who doesn't work out, we're so deep in our farm system, it doesn't even matter. And we're set up to be good without spending money for a long time, which is also, if you have no one who doesn't want to spend money. So it's hard to imagine this thing, the wheels falling off. It also points, though, to something that does bother me. And I'm going to give Mike Elias a ton of praise in this episode. And I think I'm so grateful Mike Elias came here for all he's done in the organization, and he continues to do. The one thing that does bother me, and you touched on this, this is the slow rise of this
Yeah.
team. Listen to his interviews. Tell me how many times he said the words World Series, right? Or win
I
a
know.
World Series.
I
He
know.
doesn't
No,
care.
he says competitive baseball.
His whole thing is playoffs.
Yeah. And
He just wants to get in the playoffs and then roll the dice. Playoffs.
But
So
I
he's
think
not
that's
the type
fair.
of GM that's going to go all in to win. Like his whole thing is, I'm going to get this team good enough to make the playoffs every single year. Which, hey, I mean, that shouldn't be something to complain about because I would like to go to the playoffs every single year. But it's just his kind of goal.
This playoff.
When he talks about it, is in his mind is not to say we're going to win the World Series. It's I'm going to get to the playoffs and then we'll roll the dice. And if I get the playoffs every year, certainly one of those years, we'll make a run. Which I get,
which is what we all praise the Baltimore Ravens for doing. Is they stay competitive. You get in the playoffs, then anything can happen.
Yeah, and that's like we want a team who perennially make the playoffs. Yeah, I shouldn't complain about that.
I mean, we've seen teams go all in for the World Series, and then they don't make the World Series. They age out. I don't want that. I want this team. You're right. If we can be in the playoffs every year, we're bound to get further at some point. I don't think we'll be the Buffalo Bills, but the Buffalo Bills made it to the Super Bowl 4 years in a row. They never won it, but they got there. Right. All we got to do is get in these playoffs every year, and we'll get the right matchup, and we'll get through. It gets true. It would get old if we always made the playoffs, but all we want right now is the playoffs. To wish for a World Series before you get to the playoffs is really tough.
Right. So there could be an opportunity, for example, this trade deadline of making a big move to bring in an elite starter and give up some of your farm system.
Yes.
And I think Michael Elias would be very reluctant to do it because he's looking at playoff odds for this year, next year, the year after, that, year after that.
Yeah. No, I think you're right.
There's no reason to think he's going to trade away key pieces.
No, we talked trade stuff a lot last week, but yeah, you're right. It's whatever he is willing to trade is because he believes he has other people that will be filling those spots better. Because he will not give up the future to win this year.
Yeah,
he's not even a piece of the
future. Yeah,
Dan Duquette was different. Dan Duquette's way was almost. It goes back to saying in spite of him. Dan Duquette's way was if we got to this point and we were in the playoffs, all right, let's go all in this year. Then it fails. Then we have a down year. We don't make the playoffs. Next year we chance into a playoff run. Let's go all in and try to do it. Yeah. It fails. I don't like that approach. I prefer the Michael Elias. Hey, let's get in there every year. The problem is it's been so long that we've gotten in that I can't wait for October baseball this year.
Yeah, I mean, Dave Dombrowski is another guy like that who, Tigers, and then I think with Phillies, and he's the guy you brought in to kind of trade all away your farm system, but to get you a winner now. That's not Mike Elias' style.
And that's not working. It doesn't work wherever you do that. It doesn't work. Look at the Mets. Steve Cohen tried to buy a team now, and it's not working. Yeah. I think what makes this Orioles special is the long-range approach of liftoff. The fact that the reason that when Kowser gets up here, you've got Kowser and Gunnar and Adley, and they all mesh really well and blend really well is because they've been playing for years together. You're not trying to bring all these stars from other teams together. These guys have been playing together forever. It's just like, Matt, when you and I get on a softball field together, we play better together than separate because we know each other. We've played so long.
This 8-game winning streak has Josh chugging the orange Kool-Aid. Wow.
I'm saying,
but Josh, even like the Astros brought in key pieces like Justin Verlander via trade.
Yeah.
Even good teams. I mean, I if you look at the playoff teams, they're mostly higher payroll teams, right? Because they spend money on those missing pieces.
Right. No.
Make the trade for those missing pieces.
We have a really good core.
We do.
Spending money to strengthen the other edges of that core would definitely help him. Definitely help push us to that next level.
Yeah.
The question is, we wanted that during the offseason. I think maybe Mike Elias wasn't confident enough that it was liftoff yet to spend in the offseason.
Well, I remember his interview in spring training when he was asked about kind of how Fangraphs had them projected to win 70 some games or whatever. And he said, honestly, he said, we have a model, and our model says we're going to win a lot more games than that.
Right.
We do not agree with the model Fangraphs
Good.
has or Baseball Reference, whatever it was. Like, our model says we're going to win a lot more games. So I think he felt like this was a good team coming into it.
Okay.
And if you think about it, you texted me earlier asking kind of how we got here. And my mind, of course, immediately goes to, I think the story of this Orioles team begins, it really begins with Zach Britton in 2016 and not going in the game, right? Because the year after is when we tried to bring everybody back and it didn't work. And we lost 100 games, or I think we lost like 90 games.
That's a good point. Go back to what if we won that game?
Yeah, it changes everything. And then 2018, like for some reason, some dumb reason, we tried to take one more run at it with Manny Machado and the core, and it was a disaster. And that's where we traded Manny for penny on the dollar, and we ended up losing something like 115 games. And then Showalter's fired, Dan Duquette fired. But in some ways, it was a blessing in disguise because of that kind of how Duquette mismanaged Manny Machado and how this whole thing kind of fell apart. It kind of brought attention to ownership, and there's a whole lot of drama with ownership. We don't want to revisit.
It's really interesting. But there hasn't been drama with ownership during the Mike Elias era.
Well, there has been originally. There was, because it came out in that lawsuit, right? Brady Anderson
you're
was
right.
there. We got to get Brady Anderson out.
There was drama there. There was some drama there. I just think about the player drama that we had during the Duquette era. During the Duquette era, we had constant conflict that we would hear about between Buck and Duquette. Then we had the Nick Markakis leaving drama, the Adam Jones drama, the Chris Davis, we're not going to sign him. Oh, Angelo signed him behind Duquette's back drama. Then the am I missing something else?
I don't know.
I just run out of steam. It was just there was always something.
Yeah, but so if you want to, and I think it's appropriate, Josh, at this point you give John Angelos a lot of credit. You don't give John Angelos enough credit. You don't, for staying out of the way, hiring the right person. He hired the right person, Mike Elias, and he has stayed out of the way.
Yeah,
and let Mike Elias do his thing. He let him revamp the whole minor leagues. He let him get back into international signing. He let him build that complex international.
Right.
So
you're right. Good job, John Angelos. Keep focusing on the music.
Yeah, that's the best thing you could do is let Mike Elias do his thing and just run concerts or whatever. But if you go back and look at when they brought Mike Elias in, so you had a disastrous 2018 season,
right?
And then you brought Mike Elias in, and here is the typical lineup, or here is the positions in 2019. At catcher, you had Pedro Severino. At first base, Chris Davis. At second base, Jonathan. At short, Richie Martin. At third base, Ruiz. Outfield, you had guys like Dwight Smith Jr., Stevie Wilkerson, Trey Mancini.
I'm waiting
Santander
for you to name,
was young
there
on
you
that
go.
team.
I was going to say, I've been waiting for you to name one guy that would still be on that, not because of age or anything, but because of quality of player, he would be on this team.
Yeah, and
$10 your first one.
Yeah, and he's really Austin Hayes was up there, and Cedric Mullins was up there too a little bit. But that's it. Cedric Mullins, Austin Hayes, and Santander.
Yeah.
As far as the hitters and pitching wise, I have to look at it. I think the only guy left from the 2019 there's 100 pitchers is John Means. And actually, I think Michael Gibbons was on there, but he left and then came back.
Keegan Aiken was after.
Keegan Aiken was probably on there too. I have to look real quick, but no, I don't see him on here either.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's really just John Means, which is wild. So if you think about it, that's 4 years, which I know is long in baseball, but it's not that long. And to turn over a roster so utterly and completely in 4 years. And it's not like, also, by the way, can we just talk? There was nothing left for Elias to trade. Like, he was able to make small trades like Iglesias, and he was able to trade Dylan Bundy, and we saw Bradish pitch, who's been pitching amazing. I saw the Dylan Bundy trade, but he had almost no resources to trade from. And remember, 2019 to 2022, there were so many waiver wire pickups. Like every day we had a new bullpen on the I was waiver wire. It was a team of waiver wire guys. Josh, do you know on this 40-man roster right now, how many guys got on this team via waivers?
Oh, waivers. I would say on a 40-man, I'd say 6.
Yeah, it's 5.
All right, good.
It's
All right.
5, and that's it. And as far as drafted guys that we drafted,
10,
16.
Oh, okay. On the 40-man, 16 of the 40 we drafted.
Yep.
That's really high.
Yep. 10 we traded for, 7 for free agents, and 2 were Rule 5.
Okay.
And if you just look at our lineup now, it's just a bunch of top draft picks. Leading off, Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschman, both out of that first Mike Elias draft, 2019, a draft of legends right there to get 2 superstars in one draft. That's you make the Ravens comparison, right? That's a Jonathan Ogden, Ray Lewis type situation there. And then, of course, you have Santander Hayes and Sergio Mullins, but all these other guys are new, and you have guys like Westberg, who are, again, drafted. I think he was 2020 draft, what Westberg was. And the only remaining kind of waiver wire guys are guys like Mateo and Arias on the position player side of things. And I wonder how long Mateo and Arias will be here to begin with. Like, it could be
any day now.
It could be in short order that we don't have any waiver wire guys.
Someone leaves tomorrow.
Yeah, and in the bullpen, there's just really is Cianel Perez and Brian Baker are the 2 waiver wire guys in the bullpen. Oh, and Austin Voth too from last year. But it just shows that we're not a waiver wire team. Most of those didn't hit, actually. Most of the waiver wires ended up not hitting. But this team has been fueled predominantly, especially on the offensive side, through the draft, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. But that's where, again, it goes back to, do we disrupt that with making a big signing to push us this year?
Yeah, though interesting enough, in starting pitching wise, Grayson Rodriguez will get the start maybe today. I mean, to tomorrow.
Monday.
He's the only guy that was drafted in our starting rotation, right? Because Gibson free agent, Kyle Bradish came from the Dylan Bundy trade. Wells is a Rule 5 guy we got in 2020, and Dean Kramer came in that Manny Machado trade. And if you want to throw Cole Irvin in there, he came obviously from the trade this offseason with the Athletics for Hernandez. So it's interesting. We've done it in the position player, but in the starting rotation, we still have not drafted those guys. We're still kind of using duct tape, it feels like, a little bit to put that together. But yeah, it's just interesting how far we've come in so few years, and we haven't even seen any of the international signings make it here yet. That's not even a thing yet.
Yeah, that's a long time off.
But it's on the radar. And so this has just been done 4 years, almost exclusively. A couple trades in there, but almost exclusively through the draft, which is amazing that you can rebuild so quickly through the draft, because it takes so many years for players to develop, and we've seen year after year players miss that we've drafted. So it's really, really amazing, not just a turnaround, but how it was done. Not big free agent signings, not huge trades in return. Like we saw the Nationals are rebuilding, but they have the help of being able to trade guys like Scherzer and Trey Turner and Juan Soto. We didn't have that to trade from, partly because of its own fault, but just predominantly Mike Elias has done it through the draft, which is really cool. It's been really fun to watch, because you get to see these players drafted, work their way through the minors, and then they're here. And it's not like they just showed up yesterday. We've watched them for years, and now they're here. And the Orioles have done a great job with patiently develop them at each level. And we get to wait the anticipation of Grayson and Gunnar and Westberg, and then they show up and they're actually good from the moment they get here. It's been not just the fact that we're good, but how we've gotten good is pretty special as well.
Yeah. It's interesting to see Gunnar had a real slow start, but now he seems to be he's playing like the guy that was projected to be. I think his struggles early on had ruined his opportunity for Rookie of the Year. But
really? I haven't looked at all at that, but I would find that surprising that he's not still in top 3 for Rookie of the Year.
I haven't seen it, but I don't know. I know he had such a slow start that I don't know what the current projections are, but I would think that he'd have to have a pretty strong, like a exceptional back end
Yeah.
to get in the running. For
Well, I
Rookie of
mean,
the
it
Year.
helps too, and I'm just I'm just looking right now at the rookie of the year odds, and he's at plus 300, which is not bad. There's only two other guys ahead of him, Josh Young from the Rangers and Masataka Yoshida from the Red Sox, and then it's Gunnar Henderson, and then there's a huge drop off after that. So he's still in top three. I think also the fact that
Did you? Okay. Yeah, he is top 3 at plus 300.
yeah,
You
so
see
just,
who? You see who's plus 6,000?
Cano.
Yeah, number 10, Cano.
Yeah.
It's pretty
I mean,
funny.
you could argue that Cano is. I mean, he's a reliever, so he's not getting any love. But
No,
I
he
would
won't
argue
get love.
he's more valuable than a lot of players on that list that are above him. But
But anyway,
yeah,
it wasn't a guy of showing up and like instantly like going great. Just like Grayson. Grayson came up, he performed well, but struggled some. They sent him down. We hope now he can bounce back the same way Gunnar has without
Josh,
going up and down.
What do you think about Grayson Rodriguez? Struggled in the majors, so they sent him back down to the minors to figure things out. He pitched well there,
Yeah.
but it's not surprising. He pitched well there before. It's
Right.
not. He's
True.
dominated AAA.
So I
But then hold up.
Yeah.
Wait for it. But then you bring him up, and for his first start, you have him pitch
the Dodgers.
against the Dodgers,
Yeah.
one of the best hitting teams, one of the best teams all around in baseball.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
There is something specific that you and Grayson worked on in the minors the past 2 months. Something that doesn't show up on a stat sheet of wins and losses in the ERA. Something about pitch selection or arm mechanics or something.
Josh,
there's-
could
There's
this be,
something I think. What?
Could this be I don't want to use the word tryout, but we have, how many starts does he have until the trade deadline? Maybe 3 starts before
Yeah.
the trade deadline. And if you're Mike Elias, you have to make a decision, right?
Show it.
Is our starting rotation good enough? And I
Well-
think if you have a top 3 of Bradish and Wells and Grayson going well, that's
Yeah.
pretty good. If you have Bradish and Wells
you
and you
see
don't
Kramer?
have Grayson,
You see Kramer this weekend?
I know, but if I'm in a playoff must-win game, I
Yeah.
just don't like Kyle Gibson and Dean Kramer in that spot.
Okay. So you want to see how Grayson is going to perform against a great team.
Yeah, like I want to see if we need to upgrade at starting pitching in this trade deadline, or if I feel like Grayson can do it. There's also weird things around pitch limits, and I think Grayson Rodriguez is a few innings away from hitting what he did last year. I don't know how much they're going to let him pitch, but I assume like you want Grayson there for the playoffs, and so
Well-
I think part of this is seeing how good is Grayson, and do we need to upgrade starting pitching? I say that I don't know if that's true. Maybe they don't care, but a good Grayson changes the outlook of this rotation.
How do you fit Grayson into this rotation?
Oh, so easily. It's funny. It's so easy. I can do
Cole
it with my eyes
Cole
closed.
Irvin to the pen.
That's the simplest one.
I think.
I also
that-
think Dean Kramer could be really effective from the pen.
Yeah, I also think. I think that's also I think they're saying that, but I also think if you look at the schedule coming out, we have a lot of long stretches without off days.
Right.
So we got 9 games without an off day coming up. After that, it's another 9-game stretch. It's like
Right.
3 9-game stretches in a row without off days.
All right. So what's your point?
That they might go to a 6-man rotation
Oh, I mean,
and do a piggyback for 1 game every week.
yeah. I mean, certainly they're going to need to get, I think, creative. I assume Michael Elias still cares a lot about innings limits
Yeah.
with his young star. And so I think they'll need to come up with creative things to have him skip starts or piggyback.
If you're not spending everything to win this year, then that means you're also not giving up your star's arm in order to win this year either.
Yeah, no, you're not doing that.
And-
Michael Elias too slow and deliberate, like we just talked about, for him to do that. Yeah.
Right. And when you look at the way this pitching's going, they had John Means on what was the first game? Friday. Pre-game, he threw a bullpen session in Camden Yards earlier that day before the game. They're preparing for John Means to come back in a few weeks.
Yeah.
John Means is going to come back again, maybe in the rotation, maybe in the bullpen. Again, another guy with an innings limit. they're gonna do some juggling here over the next 2 months.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. I'm fine with Grayson starts 1 week and then gets an extra off day or two, and you throw a Cole Irvin in there, and you move someone else to the pen if you need to. If they need to look creative with it, I'm good. I was surprised when he was up here, and I'm watching him. I'm not watching him. I'm just looking at the stat book for the minors. Like when Grayson was up here, I thought he would be like on a 75 pitch limit. But when he was up here, if you look at his pitches thrown, he threw, and I'll just go through them real quick, 83 pitches. And then his second start, he threw 99, then 93, 92, 91.
So they're working up to a full
77, who was really bad, 101, 79, 91, 83. So he's throwing in the 90s consistently when he was here, which I was surprised they let him throw so many pitches, knowing, I don't know how many pitches he has in him, and you want to keep him fresh for the playoffs. So I'm really curious to see how they handle the pitches and innings limits for Grayson Rodriguez. And innings limits is probably a little bit deceptive too with Grayson, because a lot of these starts where he threw 90 pitches, he was only going 3 and 4 innings because he struggled here. And so the innings might be less concerning than the amount of pitches he's thrown in those innings. And I'm just curious to see how they handle Grayson Rodriguez the second half of the year.
Yeah, and they've been very clear that there's no innings limit on Grayson. They've said that multiple times this season.
Say it. Yeah, I don't believe it, but they say it.
Well, I think there's not an inning limit.
Right, they don't have a specific number.
But I think there's a pitch limit. And I think they say, oh yeah, there's not an inning limit.
Yeah.
But when Grayson's hitting 100 pitches in the 5th inning, they're going to pull him.
Well, and I'm talking like through the whole season, like
a total and end
like
game,
total innings or total pitches thrown throughout the entire season. And maybe there's not a specific number in mind, but I think they want to hold him. Yeah, I don't think they want him to throw twice as many innings as he did last year.
Right.
Right? I don't think so.
No, I agree. I don't think they'd push it too far.
All right. So I guess we'll wait and see how they use them. And we'll see. So real quick, Josh, out of here, if you're the Orioles,
yeah,
do you think we need to upgrade? Like, what would you do if you're GM? What would your top priorities be to upgrade this team next 2 weeks?
We're 2 weeks out.
Yeah.
If Grayson pitches well tomorrow, let's say 6 innings, 2-run ball.
Okay. I would be shocked, and I would love it, but I'd be shocked.
All right, so I'm setting that.
I would take 5 innings, 3 runs. But go ahead with your 6-2.
I'm saying if Grayson goes 6-2,
okay,
we don't do anything.
Oh, it's all on tomorrow's start.
It's all. I'm just saying. No, I'm saying it's then going to change constantly. I'm saying at this moment, I'd be okay without making a move because I think Cole Irvin helps your middle relief. I think John Means coming helps your middle relief. I think DL Hall might have died in Sarasota. I think that's an interesting story. He was supposed to be part of this team. He was supposed to be making a big impact right now. At this point,
yeah, he would. That's the missing bullpen piece that you need.
It is. It's DL Hall,
but he's not here. He's not there.
So I don't know if I do anything because I don't want to give up that farm.
Yeah.
And pitchers are expensive. Teams do not want to give up pitchers. And I don't want a rental pitcher. If I'm bringing in a pitcher, I'd like him to be here a few years.
Yeah.
And that's going to be expensive. And I'm not ready to do that. And I can get into the playoffs with this team as is. You are telling me I have what was it? 80% chance?
83, yeah.
83% chance of making the playoffs? I'm not doing anything.
Okay. And we're just at different points in this. First of all, I'm not looking for anything long-term with these relievers. I'm looking for short-term relationships. I think I can handle all the long-term stuff. I'm just not ready for a long-term commitment.
But are you ready to give up long-term options for the short-term?
Absolutely, because short-term bullpen help is not that expensive. We got freaking Cole Irvin and all his options.
So you're looking at middle relief.
Yeah, I have less confidence, Josh. I have less confidence than you do in Cole Irvin just being able to seamlessly slide into middle relief and be effective.
Okay.
I want Cano and Bautista to not be available and to know that we have a guy in there who can get a save, who can shut a team down. So I'm looking for one or two really strong, elite back end, middle to back end bullpen arms.
So you're looking for another guy that could be a closer on 20 teams, who is now a setup guy.
Well, maybe yeah, or a closer on a guy who is a closer on one of the 6 bad teams,
Okay.
and
All right.
and he can be our 7th inning guy or something. But I just think I don't have a lot of confidence in Brian Baker. I don't have a lot of confidence in Nick Vespi. I think that's an area that this team can quickly and easily get a lot better. And I don't have a lot of confidence that Dean Kramer or Cole Irvin can just move, or John Means can just be in that role and be successful as a guy we can get at the trade deadline. But I don't want long-term rentals because A, they're more expensive. B, relievers are good from year to year. So just give me a guy who's good this year and I'll figure it out for next year.
You do make an interesting point about middle relief because
you saw it today
because they're cheap, and we saw today is fall apart.
When we don't have Cano and Bradish.
I keep thinking
what happens.
Right. I always think of making big moves like a starting pitcher or a big bat, and I don't think this team's at a point that they're ready to do that.
I would be okay with an Eduardo Rodriguez, a guy on expiring contract from a bad team who's motivated to move him
if we
can get him for the right price. Yeah,
if he's cheap. My fear is that everybody wants starting pitching, so starting pitching's always overpriced.
Yeah, yeah, it might be, but there's a lot of feel like starting pitchers in the market right now, and if we can find the right matchup, if someone's interested in a Urias or a Mountcastle or something, if we can find the right matchup, I think we can make a deal there as well. But certainly it had to be for the right price. But I think at the minimum,
well, I bet we can get
a strong relief arm.
I bet we could get Hunter Harvey for a bag of balls.
Yeah, I think Hunter Harvey would be a nice addition to our bullpen.
Cash considerations, put Hunter Harvey in your bullpen. Nationals aren't doing anything.
No, the Nationals will trade all their bullpen arms. So I think it'll cost more than a bag of balls, but I think that's a move we could do. Yeah, I don't know what's Josh Hader's contract looking like. How expensive is he? He's a free agent after this year, I think, right? So if we bring in Josh Hader and Hunter Harvey, I would call it a complete success of a trade deadline and purchase my World Series tickets.
All right, let's see.
And bring back a former Oriole and a former Baltimore boy. Two former Orioles. Let's get it right.
Yeah, I don't. Let's see. Josh Hader's current stats. I mean, wasn't he just traded to the Padres like last year?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, and they overpaid for him.
Yeah, he was with Milwaukee, and Milwaukee traded him for some reason.
Padres.
Yeah, and he actually struggled for a while at the Padres right when he got there last year, but he's been better this year, I'm pretty sure.
He's got a 1.03 ERA.
Yeah, how does that sound?
That sounds expensive.
Okay, Josh. Oh my gosh, Josh.
What do you think? What would you have to trade for Josh Hader? To me, it sounds like you'd have to give up some of these guys that we are counting on filling into our outfield in the future.
Listen, as long as it doesn't involve Holiday, Kjerstad, Mayo. Am I missing anybody in there? As long as it doesn't involve Holiday, Kjerstad, and Mayo.
Norby, you ready to trade Norby?
Yes, I'm ready to trade Norby. Where's Norby going to play?
Ortiz, you ready to trade Ortiz?
Yes, I'm ready to trade Ortiz. Where's Ortiz going to play? Package those two. Give me Josh Hader. Boom, done. Thanks. Deal.
All right.
Let's shake on it. And the Padres should do it because we have some studs in this farm system. Ortiz should be a shortstop somewhere, and he could be really good. But we have Gunnar at short.
Yeah. All right.
And we have Holiday who's coming at short.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I'd gladly take Hader.
All right.
I just don't want to. I'm just not ready to give up the farm at this point.
I don't like. There's not a spot for Norby. Ortiz, we've already been through this. We tried Ortiz. There's not a spot. Kyle Stowers, I think he could be good. There's not a spot.
Yeah.
I mean, these are AAA guys who I think are majorly ready, but we just don't have spots for them.
But don't you think we also have some veterans that don't need to be on this team anymore?
Not many. Who? Frazier had 2 home runs the other day. You want to get rid of our power hitting guy in the nine-hole?
Yeah. I want to get rid of Frazier and O'Hearn.
Okay. No, I see. I want both of them.
You love O'Hearn.
I love O'Hearn. I think he's been a godsend, and Frazier is actually. I'm okay with Frazier. He annoys me sometimes. I'd probably rather have Ortiz out there, but
you
I
just
think he's a
call-
locker room guy, and I'm okay with.
Did you just
with-
call O'Hearn a godsend?
Yeah, absolutely. Josh,
Okay.
where would we be without Ryan O'Hearn?
We
Ryan
would have
Mountcastle goes down.
Santander goes to first, and now we have an extra outfield spot that should
Okay.
go to a guy like
Yeah.
Stowers, but instead McKenna would hang around.
Okay, this is your kind of daily time. I thought we went over this last time, but I can bring it up again, where you just need to use the Google machine, type in Ryan O'Hearn's name, and look at the kid's stats. All right, look at his batting average, look at his OPP, look what he's doing offensively. Yeah, you just need to look at his numbers, because I think if you look at his numbers, you will
All right.
take back and apologize for all the bad things you said about him.
All right. Let's see. Ryan O'Hearn.
Not to mention another
Today,
left-handed batter that we needed, another key left-handed bat.
O'Hearn today, 3 at bats, nothing. Yesterday, 1 at bat, nothing. Friday, 2 at bats, 2 hits. July 9th, 2 at bats, nothing. July 8th, 4 at bats, 1 hit. July 7th, 3 at bats, 0 hits. Let's see. You know when the last time he got 2 hits in a game?
When, Josh?
I don't know, because this screen doesn't go back that far.
And you know what's remarkable about all that? He's still batting over 300.
I know he's 303. I see the 303 batting average. Clearly, I'm leaning on the fact that he has 37 strikeouts this season, but he does have 44 hits. So yeah. I get it, but explain to me why Ryan O'Hearn, who has been his entire career a low 200s hitter, is now batting over 3. No, I don't trust that.
Well, Josh, it's the same way.
Next, you're going to same way you were trying to convince me Jorge Mateo is this amazing player in April.
Well, I mean, and it's the same way that Adam Frazier has, what his career high was 10 home runs, and now he has, I think, 11.
Yeah,
already. It's that kind of nonsense.
You're saying it's the you're saying it's the Oriole effect, but the difference is Adam Frazier is batting 240 this year. Last year he batted 238. Year before that 267. His batting average is the same. He got extra power. All right, so he got some extra power. Maybe he's playing in some smaller ballparks. I haven't seen how many of his home runs were home versus away.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm not saying that Ryan O'Hearn is the key that makes his offense run.
Yeah, but he's a godsend.
Well, but he is, I think, I mean, I put him in the same league as a Danny Coulomb, where it was just, you didn't think that he would at all be a part of this team. And he turned out to be a really kind of get you through some times where you needed him.
No, I agree with that.
And I don't know if the first game of the playoffs, if Ryan O'Hearn is in starting rotation or if he's in the dugout. And I don't know if Danny Coulomb pitches in a key spot in a playoff game. But I do know that we're not sitting where we're sitting without these two players.
No, I agree with you. I wish we didn't have to rely on Ryan O'Hearn, but Ryan Mountcastle was not putting up these type of numbers. So I get that. I understand.
Then, you have the injury.
Yep.
And by the way, I just Googled the definition of godsend, just to be clear. Here's the definition.
Good. I'm glad you looked it up, because that's definitely the name of today's episode.
Okay, here's the definition. And tell me if this does not describe Ryan O'Hearn. Let me read the definition according to dictionary.com, and you tell me if this does not describe Ryan O'Hearn. A very helpful or valuable person.
All right.
There it is.
All right, godsend.
There it is.
You can buy your godsend shirts over on BurlandSports.com.
Ryan O'Hearn has been a godsend. Very helpful.
Godsend.
Very helpful and valuable.
All right. I'm on it. Godsend.
All right. So yeah, I mean, this has been a really good season, Josh. It's been a really fun season. It's just July, and we gotta remind people it's July. We still got the rest of July, August, September. We got a lot of baseball left to play. Baseball is a freaking emotional roller coaster. right now we're riding a high.
We're
Loving
definitely
it.
we're definitely in that pinch me mode now.
Yeah. But it's a long season. So but I'm enjoying every second of it. It's like this team is must watch baseball, or when you're driving, must listen to with my man Scott Garceau. Like we're at that point. And so we're enjoying the ride. I'm going to tomorrow's game. I'm pumped about it. And yeah, this is a fun season.
Right. We're no Ocean Gate. Is that what you're saying? To go back to your Titanic reference from earlier today?
Ocean Gate?
Yeah, that's the sub that blew up. Or imploded.
Oh, that imploded?
The imploded. You know, that looked like everything was all good.
That reference went over my head.
I see that.
But
we should we're past the hour mark. We should have wrapped the show up.
Yeah, it's too soon for a joke like that. You can do Titanic because it's been a couple years.
All right, so Titanic works.
Yeah, but we are no Titanic. That's the point. We're not. This is not a Titanic situation.
Have you watched the show on Netflix about the plane that Malaysian plane that disappeared?
No, is there a show about that?
There's a documentary that I've had 3 people in the past week recommend it to me.
Oh, what's it called?
I don't know.
It's called I don't know.
I don't know. 3 people.
Is that like a preview of what happened to the plane? I don't know.
3 people
so it's called I don't
this
know.
week have asked me about them if I've seen the documentary about the airplane that disappeared.
No, but no, I'll check it out. I haven't watched any TV in a while with the traveling, but I'll check it out.
Check that out.
All right, let's wrap this thing and get out of here. This is a good episode. I'm feeling good about this team. It's more excitement for tomorrow. And hopefully when we talk next week, after a tough stretch, right? This is it. We got Dodgers, Tampa Bay. This is going to be an interesting, week of baseball. Dodgers and Tampa Bay. Be curious to see where we're sitting. Josh, are we in first place a week from today after we're playing the Dodgers and Tampa Bay?
This weekend we're in Tampa.
Yeah,
Saturday.
we're going to game this weekend on Saturday.
I hope that's the game there. We're either in first place already or we take it on Saturday.
Yeah. I want to either we're one game up or a tied situation happening on that Saturday. There.
Hey, if anyone's looking to go on Saturday, I might have an extra ticket. So hit me up.
All right.
You'd have to sit with us, but it's MH370, the plane that disappeared. That's the name of the movie. I'm going to watch it as well.
Yeah.
I also this week, Matt, as we're wrapping up, I finally finished Fairy Tale.
Oh, you did? Good.
So we could have book talk in the future if the Orioles ever suck.
I don't think I even remember that book anymore because it's been so long since I read it. But good, I'm glad you finished.
I know. Guys that stuck with us through the rebuild remembers we used to have to talk about books and movies and stuff to get through really bad baseball. Yeah. Now we just rolled into this and we don't need it. We've been talking baseball all day.
I know, and there's other like life updates in your life that we can get to too.
I know. Look at all these empty shelves.
Yeah.
My weekend's been putting bobbleheads in boxes and stuff.
Yep. I really want to know what your new studio plan is, but we'll talk about that in another episode.
I'll give you a hint. Air conditioning. My favorite thing I'm looking forward to for my new studio. My current one's in the garage without air. Yeah. I got air conditioning in the new house.
That's an upgrade.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Let's get out of here. Everyone, go over to our Discord. We've got the bonus episode with Bert's List over there. You can check it out. Let me know what you think of it because I hope I posted it right and people are listening to it because I'm still learning Discord as well.
Yeah, we got a bunch of people join Discord, so join the fun over there.
It's been fun to interact with people and stuff on there during the game. It's free. You can find the link on our social medias.
Yep. You can still follow us on Twitter, though, because we're still on Twitter. We haven't left Twitter.com yet.
No. But way more active in Discord. I'm trying to be responsive when people are in there conversing.
Yeah. And I've been traveling a lot, so I haven't been as responsive, but
we'll get you in there.
Yeah, but I've been in there still more than I've been on Twitter.
All right, you're going to be at the game tomorrow night?
Yeah.
Monday night?
Yeah, I'll be at tomorrow night's game, sitting in some good seats. Dad upgraded the seats a little bit for tomorrow.
You moving to the bird bath?
No, we're in section 39.
Where's that? That's lower level.
That's lower level, right underneath the press box.
All right. Oh, all right. That's nice.
Yeah, Dad's really excited for the Dodgers.
Why?
Well, it goes back to his childhood. Yeah.
All right. I'll get it. Well, I'm excited for Tampa next week.
All right. You be excited for Tampa.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, fine. And my dad would be excited for the 1966
No.
reenactment that he hopes to witness.
All right. I hope so.
Yeah. All right. You can follow me on Twitter at section336. Oh, also go to iTunes and write us a review if you haven't, so we can get some more 5-star positive reviews in there. Helps the show.
Hey, I tried this week to post the Jonah Heim episodes.
Oh yeah.
I don't have them. I've got like 50 episodes of our 500 some that I'm missing, maybe 40 episodes, and both Jonah Heim episodes are missing.
Oh,
so
my.
if someone happens to have old copies of Section 336, especially those like 100 to 200 episodes, hit me up. I need some help. I've got some holes.
All right. Helps Josh fill those holes. And you can follow Josh on Twitter
At Josh Soroka.
Thanks for listening, boys and girls. And as always, go O's.